dream destinations, exceptional cruises, polar adventures. Welcome to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast that takes you where the journey truly begins. A production of Area Voyages.
Imagine for a second a pristine, state-of-the-art, multi-million-dollar luxury expedition ship.
Oh, okay.
It is fully outfitted.
Yeah.
I mean, it has panoramic saunas and heavily reinforced ice-breaking capability.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a mudroom completely stocked with extreme weather gear. It is essentially ready to take passengers to the absolute edge of the Earth.
Right, to the extreme polar region.
Exactly. But instead, it is sitting completely idle. I mean, it is effectively paralyzed.
Which is wild.
And not by an iceberg or like a mechanical failure in the engine room or a rogue wave or anything like that. It is frozen in place for 3 full years by an international legal nightmare, one stemming from a geopolitical war thousands of miles away.
Yeah. It is one of the most complex and chaotic and frankly unprecedented situations in modern maritime history.
Absolutely.
Because you have a physical asset designed for constant global movement, just completely locked down by the invisible constraints of international financial sanctions.
And what we're going to look at today is how the brand behind that ship managed to untangle that legal web.
Yeah.
A company that actually traces its operational DNA back to a 1950s university field trip of all things.
Yeah, which is a crazy story on its own.
It really is. But we're going to see how they survived and essentially rebuilt an entire industry standard. Because you, the listener, know that a standard vacation brochure usually promises one thing right: escape.
Exactly, just checking out.
Yeah, you check your bags, you check your intellect at the door, you sit by the infinity pool, and you just turn your brain off.
Right.
But the travel philosophy we're unpacking today is the exact opposite of escaping reality.
It really is the definition of active engagement. Because the demographic we are discussing today, they don't want a cognitive void.
Not at all.
They want rigorous curiosity. They want to be challenged. They basically want a syllabus when they travel.
Which is exactly why you were here with us. We know you are a traveler, a lifelong learner, someone looking to cut through the noise of mass market tourism. So today our deep dive into the source material is tailored specifically for you. We are examining this incredibly detailed 2026 travel guide and industry breakdown.
By Yvonne Jr. Blanchette.
Yes, exactly. He is a cruise specialist and travel advisor at Area Voyages. And this document is a comprehensive, very granular look at the 2026 relaunch and the operational mechanics of Swan Hellenic.
And we really need to be clear about their pedigree right up front, because according to the source material, Swan Hellenic didn't just sort of adopt the cultural expedition trend when it got popular.
Right.
They literally invented the concept of cultural expedition cruising.
Not arguably. Not as some clever marketing spin. They actually invented it.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the entire anatomy of a truly intellectual travel experience. We're going to explore the wild business and geopolitical history of this specific brand.
And look at the physical engineering of their new fleet, too.
Definitely. We'll dissect the economics of their business model and ultimately determine if this highly curated academic method of exploration is the ultimate shortcut to being a well-informed global citizen.
Because what this source material reveals is a company that has survived some of the most turbulent corporate and international waters imaginable.
Literally and figuratively.
Right, and they survived it for one very specific reason. Their core product, which is intellectual enrichment, commands this ironclad, fiercely devoted following.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even look at the 2026 itineraries or the modern ships, we have to understand this bizarre, resilient history.
It's crucial context.
It's the only way the modern iteration of the company makes any sense. We are tracing a line from a university classroom all the way to an international legal thriller.
Yeah.
So take me back to 1954. Set the stage first. Who is Henry Swan?
Right. So in the early 1950s, Henry Swan is the co-founder of a British travel agency based in London called Swan's Tours. And, the travel landscape back then was very different. Leisure travel was largely about relaxation or seaside resorts or just standard sightseeing.
Yeah, standard tourist stuff.
Exactly. But in 1954, Swan gets approached by a very specific organization, the Hellenic Society at University College, London.
So an academic institution.
Precisely. And they came to him with a request that went entirely against the grain of the leisure travel industry at the time.
What did they want?
Well, they didn't want a vacation for their members. They wanted a scholarly, intensely focused tour of the antiquities of Greece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they wanted to study the ruins, the history, and the classical architecture.
So Henry Swan charters a ship. But here's the brilliant shift in perspective. Instead of hiring a traditional cruise director, like someone to organize shuffleboard tournaments on the deck and coordinate cocktail hours,
Exactly.
he invites an actual world-renowned archaeologist, Sir Mortimer Wheeler.
Yes.
He brings him on board as the inaugural guest lecturer.
And that single fundamental decision establishes the entire blueprint for what we now call expedition cruising.
It's crazy that it started right there.
The model was born right there in 1954. You take a small ship, you bring aboard a highly distinguished academic expert, and you build the itinerary strictly around cultural, historical, or scientific sites rather than beaches or tourist traps.
I think about it like this. Buying a ticket on that 1954 sailing wasn't like buying a standard concert ticket where you just sit in the back row and passively watch the show.
Right.
It was like getting a backstage pass and sitting in the recording studio with the band.
I love that analogy.
Only the band in this case is made up of classicists and historians and archaeologists. But I have to ask you, how unusual is it for a modern, high-end luxury brand operating in 2026 to trace its literal foundational operating model back to a university field trip?
Oh, it's incredibly rare. What's fascinating here is how that specific academic DNA, that demand for rigor, actually became the brand's ultimate survival mechanism over the next 70 years. Because if you look at the corporate history of Swan Hellenic, detailed in the source guide, it is chaotic. It is definitely not a smooth trajectory.
No, it reads like a corporate ping pong match.
Yeah.
I mean, they developed this concept of cultural cruising through the 50s and 60s and 70s. They pride themselves on almost never repeating an itinerary, which, by the way, is a logistical nightmare, but amazing for the guests.
Oh, absolutely.
And in the 1980s, the bouncing begins. They get acquired by P&O Cruises. Then years later, they get passed to a company called ALG, Adventure Life Giving.
Right.
And then in the early 2000s, they end up with G Adventures.
And through all of those acquisitions, the brand somehow manages to maintain that core identity. The guest lectures, the focus on antiquities and culture, it survives.
Yeah.
But then we hit 2017 and disaster strikes. ALG, the parent company at the time, completely collapses. They go into administration.
Right. The company essentially implodes. Passengers are left stranded. Thousands of future bookings are instantly canceled. The ships are gone.
It was a mess.
To the outside world and to the travel industry at large, it looked like the absolute end of the Swan Hellenic story. The brand was dead.
It went entirely dormant. For 3 years, there was just no Swan Hellenic.
Wow.
But this is where that 1954 academic DNA comes into play. The market demand from that specific demographic, the lifelong learners, the university-minded travelers, was so strong.
Yeah.
And the void left by the company's collapse was so deeply felt that the brand retained massive latent value.
People were practically demanding its return.
Exactly. So in 2020, an executive named Andrea Zito, along with a group of associates, acquired the brand.
Okay.
They resurrected it. They established entirely new ownership, setting up a new corporate structure based in Cyprus.
Right.
But they made this massive, highly risky commitment right out of the gate. They decided they were no longer going to just charter other people's vessels, which had been the model for decades.
Oh, right. They used to just rent the ships.
Yeah. But now they were going to build a brand new, purpose-built, heavily engineered fleet of their own.
Which is a staggering capital investment.
It's huge.
And this brings us to the first ship they commissioned, the SH Minerva. And this right here is where the story shifts from corporate bouncing to a full-blown geopolitical and legal thriller.
Yes, it does.
Because we have to talk about the disappearance of the SH Minerva.
We do, and it requires us to look strictly at the mechanics of international maritime financing. It is one of the most unusual episodes in recent cruise history.
So what happened?
Well, when the new Swan Hellenic entity commissioned the construction of the SH Minerva, the financing for the lease of that vessel was arranged through a specific entity called GTLK.
GTLK. Okay, so what is that exactly?
GTLK is the Russian state transport leasing company.
Oh, I see.
And in the maritime industry, utilizing state-backed or major international leasing companies to finance the construction of multi-million-dollar vessels is a very standard practice.
Right.
It allows the cruise line to operate the ship without carrying the entire upfront construction costs on their immediate balance sheet.
Okay, so the financing is in place. The ship is built at the Helsinki shipyard. It's delivered in late 2021. It starts its inaugural sailing season.
Everything is going to plan.
Right. The rebirth of Swan Hellenic is a reality.
Yeah.
Everything is functioning perfectly. But then we hit February 2022. The invasion of Ukraine happens.
Yeah.
And almost immediately, the international community imposes massive, sweeping sanctions on Russia and Russian state-owned entities.
Including GTLK.
Wow.
And this is where the mechanical reality of international law creates a paralyzing situation for Swan Hellenic. Because GTLK was now a sanctioned entity, international law strictly prohibited any company from doing business with them.
Right, of course.
Swan Hellenic could not legally make their lease payments to GTLK. Doing so would have been a direct severe violation of international sanctions.
But wait, if you were leasing a car and you stop making payments, the bank repossesses the car.
Right.
But here the bank is sanctioned. So what actually happens to a functional, fully crewed luxury expedition ship when the company legally cannot pay for it, but the leasing company legally cannot receive the money or freely move the asset?
It enters an absolute legal limbo. It essentially vanishes from the active market.
Just gone.
Yeah, for over 3 years, from early 2022 until mid-2025, the SH Minerva could not operate commercially. It was frozen.
3 years. Just sitting there. I mean, the carrying costs, the maintenance, the sheer frustration of having your brand new flagship completely paralyzed.
Exactly. And during that entire 3-year period, Swan Hellenic's Irish legal counsel was navigating an unbelievably complex labyrinth of international law.
I can't even imagine the paperwork.
Oh, it's staggering. They had to figure out a mechanism to untangle the physical asset from the sanctioned entity without violating the sanctions in the process.
Right.
It is a slow, meticulous, and incredibly expensive legal undertaking.
And according to Yvonne Junior Blanchette's guide, they actually pull it off.
They do.
In July of 2025, there is finally a resolution. The source material states that Swan Hellenic managed to reacquire the SH Minerva from STLC Europe 9 Leasing Ltd.
Yeah.
And they did it using entirely shareholder funds acting in absolute 100% full compliance with all applicable international sanctions.
It is a massive testament to their legal endurance. I mean, they had to utilize significant internal financial resources to completely sever the original financing structure.
Right, buy it outright.
Buy the asset outright in a legally compliant manner and bring the ship entirely in-house. And they succeeded. The SH Minerva was finally freed and rejoined the fleet for the 2025 to 2026 Antarctic season.
The resilience of this brand is just wild to me.
It's remarkable.
The fact that this highly specific identity cultural expedition cruising born from a 1954 university request was able to survive decades of corporate collapses, a total bankruptcy in 2017, and then navigate a 3-year international legal freeze brought on by global sanctions.
Yeah.
It proves something profound about the market. There is an enduring ironclad demand for substance over pure leisure.
Absolutely.
People want this intellectual product so badly that the brand simply refuses to die. Investors and executives will move literal mountains of legal paperwork to keep it alive.
That is the core thesis underlying the source material. You know, the market for generic relaxation is crowded and easily substituted.
Right. You can go anywhere for a beach.
Exactly. But the market for genuine, rigorous intellectual enrichment is scarce. It is so highly valued by its core demographic that they will wait 3 years for a ship to be legally cleared just to sail with those specific experts again.
Okay, so the brand survives the legal gauntlet. And they don't just survive, they have this brand new fleet.
Right.
Let's transition our focus here. Having a polar-class hull means you can physically reach a remote Antarctic bay, but how the ship is actually built dictates everything about how you experience that bay.
Very true.
Let's look at the hardware. We are talking about vessels built specifically for the edge of the world.
Right, and the key distinction here is that Andrea Zito's team didn't just buy retrofitted older cruise ships and slap the Swan Hellenic logo on the side.
Okay.
They went to the Helsinki shipyard in Finland, which is world-renowned for building icebreakers and polar vessels, and they purpose-built 3 identical sister ships from the hull up.
Okay, so I want to break down the actual physical specs of this fleet from the 2026 guide, but I need you to translate the numbers for us.
Sure.
Because tonnage and length don't always mean much to the average person.
Yeah.
So we have the SH Minerva, now legally free and operating, which entered service originally in November 2021.
Yep.
It carries a maximum of 152 guests. The guide lists it at 10,500 gross tons and 115 meters long.
Right.
Then we have the SH Vega, which entered service in April 2022, identical sister ship, Also 152 guests, 10,500 gross tons.
Correct.
And finally, the slightly larger sister, the SH Diana, which launched in May 2023. She carries 192 guests. She's 12,100 gross tons and 125 meters long.
Okay, so to give you the context you were asking for, we need to compare those numbers to the mass market cruise industry.
Please do.
A modern mega cruise ship, the kind you see advertised on television with roller coasters and water parks, is often pushing 230,000 to 250,000 gross tons.
Wow.
And they carry 6,000 or 7,000 passengers.
So 10,500 gross tons is tiny.
Yes.
You could practically fit the entire Swan Hellenic fleet inside the main dining room of one of those mega ships.
Exactly. These are incredibly intimate vessels, but they are not delicate luxury yachts. The hulls are heavily reinforced. The Minerva and the Vega are rated Polar Class 5.
Okay, let's unpack Polar Class 5. I know it sounds impressive on a brochure, but what does that actually mean mechanically when you are standing on the deck staring at a frozen ocean?
Well, Polar Class or PC ratings are governed by the International Association of Classification Societies.
Okay.
A PC5 rating is among the highest ice classifications available for passenger vessels. Mechanically, it means the ship's hull is constructed with specialized steel and reinforced framing designed to operate continuously in first-year polar ice, which can include old ice inclusions in all seasons.
Right, first-year ice. What is the distinction there?
First-year ice is sea ice that has formed over a single winter and hasn't yet gone through a summer melt season.
Oh, okay.
It can be anywhere from 1 to 4 feet thick. The ship has the structural integrity and the sheer propulsive power to actively push through that ice, breaking it apart without risking a breach of the hull.
That's intense.
It allows the ship to penetrate deep into the polar regions, far beyond where a standard cruise ship would be forced to turn back.
And the SH Diana is actually rated even higher. The guide notes she is a Polar Class 6. What does that jump in classification give them?
The terminology can be slightly counterintuitive depending on the specific class society metrics, but in the context of the guide, the Diana's rating allows her to handle thicker ice conditions.
Okay.
And crucially access certain polar areas even earlier in the season than her sisters when the ice hasn't yet begun to break up naturally.
But here is the tension, the juxtaposition that I really want to challenge.
Yeah.
You just described these rugged ice-crushing hulls designed to bash through 4 feet of solid sea ice at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yet the source material spends a lot of time detailing the interiors, which are designed with this incredibly elegant Scandi design philosophy.
They are beautiful ships.
The guide mentions that every stateroom has an espresso machine. There are spa-quality bathroom products, walk-in wardrobes, electric flame fireplaces in the suites, and a massive panoramic sauna.
It is a very high level of physical comfort.
Right. And honestly, I have to push back on this a bit. Is there a danger that outfitting an expedition ship with that level of extreme luxury actually distracts from the reality of where you are?
How do you mean?
Like if I'm wrapped in a plush Egyptian cotton robe, sipping a perfectly extracted premium espresso next to a faux fireplace, am I really experiencing the wild, harsh reality of Antarctica? Doesn't that totally insulate you from the environment you paid tens of thousands of dollars to see?
That is a highly debated tension in modern expedition travel. But Swan Hellenic's specific approach to Scandi design actually addresses that critique mechanically.
Oh, really?
Yes. The source material specifically highlights an absence of ornamentation in the ship's interiors.
Meaning what exactly? No gold chandeliers.
Exactly. No gold chandeliers, no flashy neon carpets, no brass staircases. The interior design utilizes pale woods, muted natural tones, and clean, minimalist lines.
Okay.
It isn't just about looking modern, it's an optical strategy. The architecture physically directs your visual attention outward.
Ah, I see. So it's not a distraction, it's a framing device.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it like a high-end art gallery.
Yeah.
The walls in an art gallery are painted a stark, deliberate white.
Yeah.
There's no crown molding to look at. The environment is deliberately blank, so that the only thing your eye is drawn to is the painting on the wall.
I would actually refine that metaphor slightly. I'd argue it is less like an art gallery, which implies you're looking at something static and more like a luxury research station.
A luxury research station. I like that.
Because out the window of the Vega, the ice is actively shifting. The light is changing. The wildlife is moving.
It's dynamic.
The design of the lighting inside the ship, for instance, is calibrated to reduce glare on the massive floor-to-ceiling windlass.
Oh, that's smart.
Ensuring that even at night in the polar summer, your view of the outside is unobstructed. If the ship was filled with internal focal points, The ship itself becomes the destination.
And you don't want that.
No. Swan Hellenic's design ensures the ship remains a vessel, an incredibly comfortable viewing platform, rather than the main event.
That makes total sense. It forces you to look at the world, not the lobby. And speaking of the world outside, there's a very specific operational reason why these ships are so small.
Very much so.
It's not just about feeling exclusive.
Huh?
We mentioned the guest counts earlier. 152 on the Minerva and Vega 192 on the Diana. Why is staying under that magic number of 200 guests so critically important to the physical expedition experience?
It comes down to international environmental governance, specifically the rules set by IATO.
Wait, what is IATO about?
The International Association of Antarctica Tour Operators. They govern how tourism operates in the Antarctic to protect the incredibly fragile ecosystem. And one of their strictest, most non-negotiable rules is that no more than 100 passengers are allowed ashore at any single landing site at one time.
Okay, let's play this out mechanically. Put me on a ship. Let's say I'm on a slightly larger expedition ship, one that carries 400 people.
Right.
We pull into a bay in South Georgia. There's a massive king penguin colony on the beach. What happens?
Well, if you are on a 400-passenger ship, the expedition leader has to divide the guests into 4 separate groups of 100.
Right.
Because of the rule.
So the ship drops anchor. Group 1 gets into the Zodiacs and goes to the beach for an hour. You are in Group 3.
So what am I doing?
You are sitting in the ship's lounge, drinking coffee, waiting for your number to be called. By the time Group 1 and 2 come back and it's finally your turn, 2 hours have passed.
That sounds awful.
And the weather in Antarctica can change in 10 minutes. The light has changed, the wind might have picked up, and maybe the penguins have moved. Your actual time on the ice is severely constrained by the mathematical capacity of your ship.
And your entire day is basically dictated by waiting in a queue. Exactly. But because Swan Hellenic deliberately engineered their ships to stay under 200 guests, the logistics completely change.
How so?
With 150 guests on the Minerva, the expedition team can often utilize 2 slightly separated landing sites in the same bay simultaneously. Or they do a very quick, seamless stagger.
Okay.
It means practically everyone gets off the ship at almost the same time. You spend your day actually walking on the ice, observing the wildlife, rather than sitting in a holding pattern. The small scale is a functional necessity for maximizing raw experience.
Okay, so the hardware gets you through the ice, the minimalist design forces you to look at the ice, and the low passenger count gets you physically standing on the ice faster.
Yes.
But that transition brings us to the core thesis of the brand.
Yeah.
Because standing on the ice is only half the equation.
Right.
Looking at a glacier is beautiful, but the physical ship cannot tell you why that glacier is calving, or what the microscopic life in that water means for the global climate.
Exactly.
The hardware is useless without the software. We have to talk about who is standing next to you.
We have to talk about the floating brain trust.
Exactly. The source guide is emphatic that the expert program is not a marketing feature. It's not a bonus add-on to justify a high-ticket price.
No, it's the core product.
It is the lifeblood of the company. It's the direct continuation of Sir Mortimer Wheeler in 1954.
So let's look at the actual numbers and the personnel. What does this brain trust look like in 2026?
Well, on every single voyage across all 3 ships, Swan Hellenic maintains a standing expedition team of 12 experts. 12 specialists dedicated to a maximum of 150 to 190 guests. That is an astonishing ratio.
It really is. Who are these people?
We are talking about PhD-level archaeologists, cultural anthropologists, historians, marine biologists, ornithologists, glaciologists, and professional photographers.
And I want to dive into what these people actually do, because the guide makes it clear they aren't just guest speakers who give a 1-hour PowerPoint presentation in the theater and then sort of retreat to the crew quarters.
Not at all. Their role is deeply integrated into the minute-by-minute guest experience.
Yes, they provide structured daily lectures to establish the academic framework, but they also drive the Zodiacs.
Wait, so if I get into a little inflatable rubber boat to go look at an iceberg, the person steering the outboard motor might be a glaciologist.
Exactly. Which means while you are driving around the iceberg, they are physically pointing out the compression lines in the ice.
Wow.
They are explaining the thousands of years of atmospheric history trapped in the bubbles you are seeing. They lead the shore excursions.
That's incredible.
If you are walking through a ruin, you are walking with an archaeologist who can explain the masonry techniques. And crucially, they eat meals with the guests. They are in the lounges.
So they are super accessible.
Very. You can sit at the bar and have a casual 2-hour conversation with a marine biologist about the feeding habits of the humpback whale you saw that afternoon.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, because the curriculum completely changes depending on the geography of the voyage.
Oh, absolutely.
If you are sailing down the coast of West Africa, your expert team is heavily weighted towards specialists in pre-colonial African social structures and the history of the transatlantic slave trade.
Right, it's contextual.
You are getting a master class in a highly complex region. If you are in the Arctic, you are having dinner with ornithologists who have spent their lives studying the migratory patterns of the Arctic tern. It is literally a floating university.
It really is.
And in 2026, the guide notes they are expanding this model into active physical participation.
Yes, the 2026 editions reflect a shift from passive learning to active skill acquisition. On the SH Vega, they have introduced a dedicated photojournalism at sea program.
And we aren't talking about a quick seminar on how to use your iPhone camera, right?
No, not at all. This is a rigorous creative enrichment program designed for guests who want to develop actual documentary, wildlife, and expedition photography skills in the field, mentored by professional expedition photographers.
And on the SH Minerva, for their new East Asia deployment, they are launching dedicated SCUBA diving programs.
Yeah, that's a huge addition.
So you aren't just sitting in the lecture hall listening to a marine biologist talk about the coral triangle. You are putting on a tank and physically descending into the reef system alongside them.
It's total immersion.
But I have to ask the obvious question here. You are on vacation. You have paid tens of thousands of dollars. You've had a hard year at work.
Right.
Does scheduling daily academic lectures and demanding this level of intellectual rigor risk making a vacation feel like a chore? What if you, the listener, just want to sit on the deck and read a trashy paperback?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look very closely at the psychology of the specific demographic Swan Hellenic attracts.
Okay.
We mentioned cognitive decompression at the very beginning of the deep dive. For the average overworked person, a void of activity is relaxing.
Sure, just doing nothing.
But for the intellectually curious traveler, the lifelong learner of void is actually incredibly stressful.
Wait, boredom is stressful.
Absolutely. For this psychographic, sitting on a beautiful beach doing nothing for 7 days feels agonizing. They feel like they're wasting time.
I can see that.
For them, true relaxation comes from deep, engaging focus on something outside of their daily routine. Learning is the relaxation.
Wow, that's a paradigm shift.
When an anthropologist explains the intricate matrilineal social structures of a Pacific island community before you visit their village, it completely alters your psychological relationship with the destination.
How so?
It removes the anxiety of simply being a passive, ignorant observer. It provides a framework for understanding which is deeply rejuvenating for a curious mind.
That is a brilliant way to frame it.
Yeah.
It's the difference between looking at a crumbled stone wall and just seeing a pile of rocks versus having an archaeologist explain that those rocks are the remnants of a crucial maritime trade route that collapsed 3,000 years ago due to a shift in ocean currents.
Exactly.
The expert gives you the lens to see the invisible history. Without the lens, you're just looking at rocks.
And providing that lens requires massive logistical and financial investment from the cruise line, which brings us directly to the economics of the operation.
Right. Because flying a dozen PhDs all over the world, paying their salaries, outfitting a Polar Class 6 ship with Nespresso machines, and maintaining a massive crew, this is a staggeringly high-cost operating model.
It's incredibly expensive to run.
Let's talk about the psychology and the functional reality of their pricing structure. The 2026 guide is very clear that Swan Hellenic operates on a fully all-inclusive model.
Yes.
But that phrase gets thrown around so much in travel. What does it actually mean here?
It means they have taken the concept to a near exhaustive level. The upfront fare covers almost every single conceivable cost a guest will encounter from the moment they arrive in the city of embarkation.
Let's run through the inclusions, because the list in the source material is massive.
It really is.
It includes a pre-cruise hotel night with breakfast in the city where you catch the ship. It includes all your private transfers from the airport to that hotel and then from the hotel to the ship.
Right.
Once you step on board, it includes all meals, 24-hour room service, and an open bar all day and evening, covering wine, spirits, cocktails, beer, and specialty coffees. Yep. It includes a mini bar in your stateroom that gets continuously restocked. It includes the Wi-Fi, which on remote satellite connections is notoriously expensive.
Extremely expensive.
It includes all the gratuities for the crew, which on standard cruises can easily add up to hundreds of dollars at the end of the week. It includes all port taxes and fees. And it includes the use of the expedition gear lockers in the mudroom.
And we should pause on the mudroom because it perfectly illustrates the operational flow of an expedition.
Okay, tell me about the mudroom.
The mudroom is not just a closet where you hang a coat. It is a massive, dedicated, highly engineered facility on the lower deck.
Okay.
It has individual heated lockers for every guest. It's where the expedition staff assist you with fitting your heavy rubber boots, preparing your parka, and managing the biosecurity protocols.
Biosecurity protocols, like what?
Like scrubbing your boots in specialized solutions before and after every single landing. This ensures you don't introduce invasive seeds or bacteria to the Antarctic environment.
Oh, wow, that's serious.
Yeah, it is the functional staging ground for the entire expedition.
But as impressive as the open bar and the heated lockers are, those inclusions are somewhat standard across the ultra-luxury expedition market.
They are.
However, the guide highlights one specific inclusion that creates a massive structural and economic differentiator for Swan Hellenic.
The shore excursions.
Yes. All shore excursions on every single voyage are included in the base fare.
This cannot be overstated. It completely changes the economic reality of the trip.
Why is it such a big deal?
If you look at many competitors in the luxury space, they might include the Zodiac rides, the basic nature viewing.
Right.
But the moment you pull into a port and want to take a guided cultural tour of a city, or visit an active archaeological dig, or take a specialized culinary tour, they charge you a la carte.
Oh, I see.
And those excursions easily run $150 to $250 per person per day.
Do the math on that. If you were a couple on a 12-night voyage with 10 port calls, and you both want to actually get off the ship and learn something every day, that can easily add $4,000 or $5,000 to your final folio at the end of the trip.
Which is incredibly frustrating for a guest who thought they already paid for a luxury experience.
Yeah, that would feel like a bait and switch.
Swan Hellenic builds all of that into the upfront fare.
So I want to dig into the why of this.
Yes.
Obviously, Swan Hellenic isn't running a charity. They are building the massive cost of those excursions into the initial ticket price.
Of course.
So, is paying for everything up front just a clever psychological trick to make us feel better about swallowing a massive initial price tag? Or is there a functional advantage to the traveler once they're actually on the trip?
It is entirely about mitigating decision fatigue and removing financial friction. And it has a profound functional advantage.
Yep.
You have to wake up, look at the daily program, and ask yourself, is this specific 3-hour walking tour of an ancient ruin worth an extra $180 to me today?
Right. And if you didn't sleep well, or if it's slightly raining outside, or if you aren't 100% sure you are interested in that specific era of history, your brain looks for the path of least resistance.
Exactly.
You say, you know what, no, I'll just stay on the ship, drink the free coffee, and save the money.
Precisely. Every time you have to swipe a key card to learn something, it triggers a pain center in the brain. It ruins the cognitive decompression.
That'll make a total fun.
But when the excursion is already paid for and completely included, that financial friction is entirely removed, the psychology shifts from, is this worth the money, to, why wouldn't I go?
Right.
And
you already paid for it.
You are vastly more likely to step out of your comfort zone. You might attend a specialized anthropological nature walk in a local village that you absolutely would have skipped if it cost an extra $200.
I love that. By removing the financial friction, the business model physically forces you into the curriculum. It democratizes the intellectual experience.
Yes, it does.
It means the entire ship of 150 people is moving as a cohesive cohort.
Yeah.
Everyone is experiencing the same cultural immersion, which means when you sit down for dinner that night, the conversations are infinitely richer because everyone shares the same baseline experience from the day.
Exactly. It builds an intellectual community. Now, just to be strictly accurate to the source material, there are a few minor exclusions.
Okay, like what?
Personal spa treatments, like hiring a massage therapist, are an additional cost, though access to the thermal facilities and the sauna is included.
Makes sense.
If you want ultra-premium vintage spirits beyond the standard high-end open bar, that is extra. And there is a single supplement fee for solo travelers, although the guide notes they frequently offer promotions to reduce or waive that supplement.
But generally speaking, the economic model is designed to completely insulate the guests from transactional stress. You pay once, and your only job for the next 2 weeks is to learn. And in 2026, the locations where you are going to be learning represent the most ambitious geographic deployment in the company's history. Let's look at the map. Where are these 3 ships actually going?
Antarctica remains the foundational core of their operation. From November through March, all 3 ships are deployed in the Deep South.
Okay.
For the 2026 to 2027 season, the guide lists 24 different Antarctic voyages. The bulk of these are 9 to 13-night itineraries departing from Ushuaia, Argentina, exploring the Antarctic Peninsula.
But there are some massive boundary-pushing itineraries in there. There is a 20-night semi-circumnavigation that starts in Cape Town, South Africa, and sails all the way across the South Atlantic to Ushuaia.
That's an incredible route.
It hits incredibly remote outposts like St. Helena Ascension Island, Tristan da Cunha, the South Sandwich Islands in South Georgia. That is a wild, historically rich route. But the one that really stopped me in my tracks reading the guide is the 51-night Grand Voyage.
A 51-night single booking. It is a monumental logistical undertaking.
I can't even fathom it.
It departs Cape Town on March 25th, 2026, and sails northbound up the coast of Africa, eventually crossing the Atlantic. It combines 5 consecutive itineraries.
Think about the logistics of that. How do you even provision a ship for a 51-night luxury expedition?
It's mind-boggling.
You have to carry enough premium food, wine, fuel, and medical supplies to sustain 150 guests and a massive crew for almost 2 months, while navigating areas like the Skeleton Coast of Namibia, which is notoriously hostile and difficult to access by sea.
It requires military-level supply chain management, but the payoff for the guest is an unbroken, deeply immersive narrative journey across multiple continents.
Wow.
They are also adding new layers to the standard Antarctic sailings in 2026, specifically the introduction of expert-led snowshoeing excursions.
Which again leans into that active participation. You aren't just looking at the snow, you are strapping on gear and hiking across it.
Right.
But 2026 isn't just about the polar regions. The guide details a massive brand new debut in the Asia Pacific.
This is a highly significant expansion for the brand. Starting in March 2026, the SH Minerva is launching 5 initial cultural expedition voyages across the Asia Pacific region.
Where specifically?
They are pushing into Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia's incredibly remote Raja Ampat region.
Raja Ampat is literally the global epicenter of marine biodiversity. It's the heart of the Coral Triangle.
It is.
Which is exactly why those new dedicated Scuba Depot programs we talked about are being deployed there. But what I find fascinating is how Swan Hellenic frames the curriculum for this region. They aren't just selling tropical beaches.
No, not at all.
The guide explicitly states they are emphasizing the study of primitive art, ancient anthropological rituals, and profound World War II historical sites right alongside the biodiversity.
And that framing is essential to understanding the brand. It shows how their itinerary planning is at its core curriculum design.
Right.
They aren't taking you to a Pacific island just because it is beautiful. They are taking you there to provide a holistic, multidisciplinary view of the region.
Give me an example of what a day looks like.
Well, you might spend the morning studying the complex ecology of the coral reef with a marine biologist.
Okay.
And then spend the afternoon with an anthropologist examining how the indigenous islanders' social structures and spiritual beliefs are directly tied to the health of that very same reef.
Wow.
And then the next day, you are with a historian exploring a rusted WWII shipwreck in the bay. It is a complete 360-degree educational immersion.
And the map gets even more intense when we look at their West Africa deployment. This is a region that very few cruise lines, even in the expedition space, approach with any real depth. It's very rare. It is logistically difficult and historically complex. But Swan Hellenic is dedicating significant time to exploring Senegal, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gabon, Angola, and the Bijagos Islands of Guinea-Bissau.
The Bijagos Islands are a perfect example of their target geography. It is an archipelago of 88 islands, mostly uninhabited, with an incredibly unique matriarchal indigenous culture and a deeply complex colonial history.
That sounds fascinating.
You cannot certainly pull a large cruise ship up to these islands and unleash 3,000 tourists. It requires a small ship, immense cultural sensitivity, and an expert team tailored precisely to the region.
Right.
Traveling there with historians specializing in the transatlantic slave trade and pre-colonial African societies turns a beautiful boat ride into a profound historical reckoning.
Then you have the Mediterranean program, which the guide beautifully refers to as the spiritual heir to those founding 1954 voyages with Sir Mortimer Wheeler.
Yes.
They're actively avoiding the massive overcrowded mass market tourist ports. Instead, they're focusing on smaller islands, hidden coves, and lesser-known archaeological sites in Greece and Italy.
Yeah.
And there's a brilliant operational detail here regarding the SH Diana and the city of Venice.
Yes. This is a perfect example of how physical engineering directly enhances cultural access.
Tell me about the Venice situation.
In recent years, Venice has rightly banned massive cruise ships from entering its historic center to protect the city's foundations and manage over-tourism.
Which is completely understandable.
Those large ships are now forced to dock far away, often on the mainland, requiring passengers to take long bus rides or crowded water taxis just to reach the city.
That's a huge hassle.
But because the SH Diana was specifically engineered to be under a certain gross tonnage and length, she meets the strict environmental and size regulations to bypass those bans.
Wait, really?
Yes, she can sail directly into the heart of the historic center.
It changes the entire experience. You wake up, you walk up the gangway, and you are in Venice. No hour-long bus transfers.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you, the listener, a direct question right now. Think about your own travel bucket list. Think about how you want to spend your precious time and money.
Yeah.
Would you rather see the standard, heavily marketed highlights of the Mediterranean, elbowing your way through thousands of people to take a selfie in front of a monument? Or would you rather take a deep, quiet dive into the Bijagos Islands of West Africa, guided by a resident anthropologist who has spent 20 years studying the culture?
It is entirely a question of personal priorities. And that question brings us to the final and perhaps most important piece of analysis from the source material.
Which is?
Understanding exactly who this highly specific, highly intellectual product is actually built for.
The filter. Because with such a rigorous, demanding program, it is abundantly clear that Swan Hellenic is not for everyone.
No, it's definitely not.
And they know that. Let's look at the competitive landscape outlined in the guide and examine how Swan Hellenic uses its own identity to essentially filter its guests. The guide provides a very clear breakdown of the main competitors in the luxury expedition space. Let's start with Atlas Ocean Voyages.
Okay, so Atlas is a very strong competitor. They operate at a similar price point, and their ships have a very similar guest count, hovering around 198.
Okay.
They are also fully all-inclusive, and they even include private charter flights on their Antarctic voyages to get you over the Drake Passage quickly, which Swan Hellenic does not do.
Yeah.
They have a very chic, design-forward aesthetic.
But according to the guide, they lack the included shore excursions that we spent so much time dissecting.
Right.
If you want the deep cultural tours, you pay extra. And they generally have less academic depth in their standing expert program.
Okay, what about HX Expeditions, formerly Hurtigruten?
HX is fascinating. They shifted to a fully all-inclusive model in late 2024. They operate the world's first hybrid electric expedition ships, which is a massive environmental achievement.
Oh, that's cool.
They have a lower price entry point, making them slightly more accessible.
Yeah.
And they have this incredible feature called a science center on board, where guests can actively participate in ongoing scientific research.
That sounds great. So what's the catch?
The crucial difference is scale. Their ships are significantly bigger, ranging from 200 up to 490 guests.
Which immediately brings us back to the IATO Antarctic landing restrictions we talked about. If you are on a 490 passenger ship, you are waiting in shifts. You are getting less intimate landing groups and less actual time on the ice.
Exactly.
Then you have the German Titan Hapag-Lloyd's Hanseatic ships. Hapag-Lloyd commands immense respect in the industry. They have decades of polar heritage. Their ships carry a Berlitz 5-star plus rating, which is the highest standard of service.
5-star plus.
And their vessels have the highest ice class available for passenger ships, the same Polar Class 6 as the SH Diana. They are incredible machines.
So what is the filter there?
There are two main filters for the international traveler. First, the primary language on board their nature cruises is often German.
Oh.
And second, crucially, all of those deep dive shore excursions are charged entirely separately.
Right, which completely changes the daily psychology of the trip, bringing back that decision fatigue we discussed. Finally, we have to look at the ultra-luxury titans, Ponent and Silversea.
These two define opulent finical luxury in the expedition space. Ponent has features like the Blue Eye, a multi-sensory underwater lounge built into the hull.
An underwater lounge?
Yeah. They are fully all-inclusive, pouring endless champagne, and they operate a literal icebreaker that can punch its way all the way to the geographic North Pole.
That's wild. What about Silversea?
Silversea offers an incredibly formal, butler-serviced luxury experience, and they possess the broadest global polar range of any operator.
But for both Ponent and Silversea, you are paying a significantly, sometimes astronomically higher price point.
Oh, yeah.
And the focus, while they do have experts, leans heavily toward the opulent physical indulgence of the luxury, rather than the rigorous academic depth.
This raises an important question about self-awareness in travel. If your primary goal for spending $30,000 is to tell your friends at a dinner party that you drank vintage champagne while riding a submarine under an iceberg in Antarctica,
Right.
or if you demand a personal butler available 24/7 to draw you a bath, then Swan Hellenic is going to feel misaligned with your priorities.
Right. If you want the submarine, go to Ponant. If you want the roller coaster, go to Royal Caribbean.
Exactly. Swan Hellenic's deliberate absence of ornamentation, their conscious decision not to carry helicopters or submarines, their intense focus on daily academic lectures, these are not cost-saving measures.
Yeah.
They are highly intentional philosophical choices.
It's a feature, not a bug. They are using their 1954 academic identity as a literal filter. By being so strictly focused on the curriculum, they actively repel the traveler who just wants to party on the ice or who just wants to check a continent off a list.
Right.
And in doing so, they attract a highly specific psychographic. They attract the learner. And the functional result of that filter is that they ensure the community of 150 people on board shares a baseline of genuine curiosity.
Yeah, you know for a fact that the person sitting next to you at dinner is just as fiercely interested in the anthropologist's lecture on pre-colonial Africa as you are. And for this specific demographic, that is the ultimate luxury. It isn't the Nespresso machine or the thread count of the sheets. The ultimate luxury is traveling the world alongside a cohort of peers who actually care about deeply understanding the environments they are moving through.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We have traced an incredible chaotic journey. We started with a single highly specific university experiment in 1954.
Yeah.
We watched that concept survive decades of corporate acquisitions, a total bankruptcy in 2017, and then literally watched a multi-million-dollar ship get frozen in international legal limbo for 3 years due to sweeping geopolitical sanctions.
And we have seen how the enduring market demand for that resilient academic model resulted in a 2026 fleet of 3 state-of-the-art polar-class ships.
Right.
Ships that deliberately prioritize intellectual brain power over pure physical opulence and utilize a frictionless, fully all-inclusive economic model to completely democratize the learning experience for every guest on board.
It is a business model that challenges the fundamental definition of what a vacation is supposed to be. Which leaves me with one final thought for you, our listener, to mull over long after we wrap up here.
Okay.
If a strict, demanding academic tour model from 1954 can survive all of that chaos, the corporate collapses the paralyzing international sanctions and emerge as a highly sought-after premium industry standard in 2026, what does that actually say about us?
That's a great question.
Does it suggest that human beings crave structured, rigorous, expert-led learning just as much, if not more, than we crave mindless relaxation?
It implies that our fundamental desire to understand the world is ultimately stronger and far more enduring than our desire to simply escape from it.
Exactly. And the question you have to ask yourself is, how might you apply that cultural expedition mindset to your own life right now? You don't necessarily need a Polar Class 6 ship and a ticket to Antarctica to do it.
No, you really don't.
How could you apply that rigorous curiosity, that hunger for expert context, to a walk through the history of your own hometown? How can you apply it to the media and the news you consume every single day? What happens to your perspective when you stop looking for an escape and start demanding a syllabus? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We will catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast by Area Voyages. The full article for this episode is available at www.areavoyages.com. Remember to like, share the podcast, and leave a review to help promote our work. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Until next time, safe travels.